virtual means. Participants may access this meeting through the remote meeting link as posted on the meeting agenda and through the town's online calendar. When required by law or allowed by the chair, persons wishing to provide public comment or otherwise participate in the meeting may do so by raising their hand or otherwise signaling their intent to speak. Each citizen will be afforded 3 minutes for the comments. This meeting will be recorded. Please take care to mute your microphone unless you have been recognized by the chair. We'll now confirm attendance of members and staff. Please respond with present if you're on this call. Jim Cirillo,
Present.
Ed Harrow, Janine LeBlanc,
Here.
Ted Barger Hook,
Ted is present.
Melissa Rakos is not attending, and this is Jeff Barnes. And staff, Kim,
Present.
Anna,
Present.
and Joe with Lucas Environmental.
Present.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, so work session items, we have no documents for review. Draft minutes for review, February 28th and March 14th. Did everyone get a chance to look at those? And are there any questions or comments? Do I need a motion? What's that, Jim? Sorry.
I'll make that motion when you're done.
Yep. Okay, and a second, please.
Second,
All right, and we'll do the roll call. Jim,
All right.
Janine, Ted,
Aye.
Ted is an
Sorry.
aye.
Melissa. Melissa's not here. Sorry, Carrie. Carrie's not here. And Jeff is an aye. Okay. So Stuco 68 Pine Island Road request for a certificate of compliance. Kim, you want to just give us an update on this, please?
Sure. So this was a request for a COC for work associated with a patio and tree removal at a single-family home adjacent to Lake Maspinock. At the last meeting, the commission requested the applicant provide a letter explaining why rooftop infiltration was not constructed. And we requested that the applicant plant 3 mitigation trees. And since that time, the applicant has satisfied both of those requirements. So my recommendation tonight is to issue the certificate.
Okay, thank you, Kim. I think Mr. Stukel is on the call. Mr. Stukel, did you have any questions or comments?
Nope, the trees look beautiful.
That's
So Kim, thanks for your assistance, and we're enjoying the new trees.
Thank you, Mr. Stukel. If I can get a motion to approve the COC for 68 Pine Island Road,
Ted will be happy to make that motion.
and a second, please.
I'll second, Jim.
All right, and we'll do the roll call. Jim,
All right.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
For the chair,
Yes,
could I have a motion to authorize Kim to sign on your behalf as we're not going to meet for 3 weeks, please?
I'll make that
thank you. Thank you, Anna,
Thank you.
for that. Yep. Okay, so if we can get a motion to have Kim sign on behalf of the commission members present,
I'll make that motion.
and a second.
I'll second.
All right, Jim, we'll do the roll call.
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay. Thank you, Anna. All right, Legacy Farms Road North and South. This is a friendly enforcement order for mitigation activities. Kim, do you want to give us an update, please?
Sure. And just as an aside, I also want to let you know, Jeff, that Ed should be signing on here shortly soon. He was a little caught up with the technical difficulties, but hopefully you'll see him in the
Okay,
waiting
yep,
room.
Carrie and Ed are coming in now, actually. Okay,
Awesome. Okay, so Legacy Farms Road North and South. So this was over the past maybe 2 or 3 months, the commission has been reviewing mitigation plans by the applicant for impacts associated with the Legacy Farms North and South Road. The mitigation plans were reviewed by our consultant, Lucas Environmental. And Lucas Environmental is in agreement with Goddard Consulting, who took a look at putting together the final mitigation plans. So the orders of conditions for these projects have long since expired, and the applicant requested that I put together a friendly enforcement order as a vehicle to allow for the mitigation work to take place. So I've drafted that, and I'm requesting the commission approve a friendly enforcement order, which kind of memorializes the mitigation plan so that the applicant can get to work on it.
okay. Thank you, Kim. Any questions or comments from commission members? Okay, if I can get a motion to approve the enforcement order for the mitigation activities and to sign on behalf of the commission members present.
I'll make
So
that
moved.
motion. This is Ted.
I'll second it.
Jim and Ted seconded, and we'll do the roll call. Jim,
Aye.
Ed? Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Ted is an aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay, thank you, Kim. All right, what time do we have? Okay. So 109 Winter Street, a request for a 3-year extension permit. Kim,
Yeah, let me just find some better plans here for you. Okay, here we go. So this was a project that the commission originally approved in 2017. There's an existing single-family home at 109 Winter Street. Here's the driveway. The permit is for the construction of a driveway and a single-family home kind of in the back of the parcel. The driveway involves a crossing of a wetland and intermittent stream system. As I had mentioned, the commission approved it in 2017. And I believe there's already been one extension for 3 years. Tonight, the applicant is requesting another 3-year extension of this permit. I do note that recently the commission also permitted replacing the septic system for the existing home in the front of the home. Anna and I were able to take a look out there just to make sure that the permitting associated with the septic system looked okay and the site was stabilized. And we did find that the site is largely stabilized following the septic system replacement, which is right in this location.
okay. So I guess, the question here, Kim, is, in your professional opinion, is the 3-year extension appropriate? Should we limit it to 2 years? What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, my thoughts are that 2017 was a ways ago. Generally speaking, wetland delineations are valid for about 3 years. So this is definitely surpassing that amount of time. It may be somewhat in the commission's interest to limit the extension so that if some things do change or whatnot, that they would have the chance to kind of re-review this project.
So is a 2-year extension is appropriate in this situation?
I would say, it's the purview of the commission, how confident how confident do you feel? Do you feel like you would like a chance to re-review this, or do you feel comfortable extending it?
Jeff, I have a question.
Yes,
What
Jim.
was the last extension? 1 year, correct?
Let me pull it up.
I would feel, whatever it is, I would feel much more comfortable if it was an annual, a 1 year renewal. I agree with you that things change. You never know. 3 years is a long time to wait if something does change.
It looks like it was a 3-year extension.
It was, huh?
Yeah, I would support a 1 year as well. It's
What's
like I said,
the-
it's been a while.
Or two. If you said this, I apologize. Is there a maximum number or period of extensions? Or can it be just in perpetuity as long as you ask? I
3
didn't get a chance
years is the maximum.
3 years at a time. But somebody could keep a permit,
Right.
keep it open forever if they kept getting 3-year extensions or 1 year or whatever. Yeah, I would still say 1 or 2 years. And do we know anything about what's taking them so long? Does that matter? Is that irrelevant?
I'm not sure we know
Okay, maybe
exactly what the, circumstances are
Maybe we can't know.
associated with the delay. But I heard Janine say, she's receptive to a 1 year
Yeah. she did.
extension. So, Jim, I would think that Janine made that motion. Jim, are you seconding that?
I will second the motion for a 1 year extension.
Okay. And we'll do the roll call vote. So, Jim,
I
is Ed on the call yet?
Yeah, I'm back. I was trying to enjoy the great outdoors and sit on the deck, but this signal strength was obviously not there. And I would support the 1 year extension.
Okay, Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
and Carrie,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay. Great, thank you. All right, 7:17, so let's move on to the new hearings, Rebel Hill LLC. The Hopkinton Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 16th, 2023 at 7 o'clock, virtually online. Hear all persons interested. Notice of intent filed by Rebel Hill LLC to construct 2 single-family houses with associated drainage and site work. The location is 188 Fruit Street. Assessors map R2, Block 21, Lot B, and 190 Fruit Street, Assessors map R2, Block 21, Lot A. We have the applicant or a representative on the call.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Richard Valarelli. I represent the owner or the owners of these lots. And along with me tonight is Nick and Bridget from VHB to help walk us through some of the wetland and stormwater management aspects of the plan. So what this is here, some of you may be familiar with it, is these lots were broken off from the golf course. My understanding is some time ago, in their single family, their own single family lots, and the owners wish to develop these lots into single family homes. Over the past year, we've been busy reflagging wetlands and delineating wetlands and understanding what's actually out there a little bit more. Internally, we've been through several renditions, and this is the rendition we've submitted with our notice of intent, which we feel is the least impactful to develop these lots and stays completely out of a 50-foot buffer, which Nick and Bridget can help me walk you all through the plan. And with that being said, I think I'll turn it over to Nick at VHB.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Kim, I actually have a PowerPoint presentation. Not sure if it's all right if we share our screen.
Absolutely. Let me jump off here.
And as Rick mentioned, we were brought on recently to assist with the project. We do understand this went through the ORAD process a couple of years ago, and there were some questions. I know a concept was shared. There were some questions with that, and we've sort of looked through, as Rick had said, a number of different options to try to ease, I guess, some of the concerns that the commission mentioned during that process. And I'll kick it over to Bridget just to talk about the wetlands themselves, and then I'll pop back on to talk about the site and stormwater.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Yeah, so as Rick and Nick mentioned, I'm Bridget Obernorth, VHB, the environmental and civil consultant for this project for the applicant Rubble Hill. And we're here to discuss the work at 188 and 190 Fruit Street. And so the project is located on these two adjacent parcels south of Fruit Street and north of that golf course and country club that was mentioned. So, Nick, yeah. And so the site itself, looking at the wetlands, it does contain bordering vegetated wetlands on the northeast corner, in addition to a wetland located north of Fruit Street across the street there. There's also an intermittent stream on the western side of the site. And in the northeast corner, in that small dashed red line, is bordering land subject to flooding. And so in terms of the buffer zone to these resource areas, the buffer zone consists of undeveloped forest, and you can see the 100-foot buffer zone to BVW and Bank in the bold dashed red line, and the 125-foot vernal pool buffer can be seen in the solid blue line. And so there is a portion of the buffer zone that's previously disturbed in that green bubble in the bottom corner of the site there. And so this was previously used by the adjacent golf course for staging purposes to stage construction debris. Next slide, please. And so the development itself proposes to construct 2 single-family homes, one on each of these parcels, in addition to the 2 associated driveways, perimeter retaining walls, and stormwater BMPs. And so work is only proposed within the buffer zone. No work is proposed within resource areas. And here you can also see the 50-foot no disturb zone is highlighted in yellow. Next slide. So looking at the work itself, like I said, there will be no impact to BVW, and no work is proposed within the 125-foot vernal pool buffer. And work within the 100-foot buffer zone includes the construction of the driveway and retaining walls, grading and landscaping activities, stormwater BMPs, and a small portion of the house at 188 Fruit Street. Next slide. And then looking at the 50-foot no disturb zone, the only work in here includes the removal of that existing debris pile and actually restoring this area of the buffer zone with native vegetation. And so if we go to the next slide, you can see the landscaping plan. And so this just shows here where the cursor is. This area of the buffer zone will be replanted with native shrubs and trees in order to provide viable habitat and for this area to succeed back to a forested area.
Thanks, Bridget. So as Bridget mentioned, the site is currently mostly undeveloped. From a stormwater standpoint, there's 2 design points: the wetland to the south and the wetland to the north. This design point 1, we're calling it, which is to the south. Only a small portion of the site drains there, and that'll continue to remain undeveloped in the future. So the big analysis that we ran and what we looked at from a stormwater perspective was to design point 2, which is also that vernal pool. And as you can see, we've the design point 1, which we discussed, stays exactly the same, and then design point 2 picks up the remaining drainage area. So 188 Fruit Street, which is the house on the left of this page, the house itself will drain to a subsurface infiltration system to provide water quality and mitigate those peak rates. The 190 Fruit Street lot will drain, the driveway will drain to a subsurface infiltration system as well. And also the house and a portion of the driveway will drain to, on the right-hand side of this screen, just a surface basin, which will also provide infiltration for water quality and mitigation of those peak rates. So in looking at this design point, we do actually decrease peak rates for the 2, 10, 25, and the 100-year storm. Believe, and I've been working with Kim, kind of going back and forth on this, we're exempt from the state stormwater standards, but we are required to meet the local stormwater standards. Since it was kind of confusion early on, we are meeting both those. So we're meeting all the state standards as well as the local standards. We are in the process of filing for the stormwater permit. But Lucas Environmental did do a review of the notice of intent application. Just so you know, this is a little more zoomed in version, which shows in dashed the subsurface systems, which one is at the end of the driveway and just adjacent to the 188 building, and then the surface basin as well. So the surface basin is being located primarily in the area where that landscape debris was. So that portion will be cleaned up there. And the previous consultant did do a number of test pits out here, one for the septic systems as well as for the these infiltration areas. So I believe they were in front of you requesting permission to do that, which is when they showed that concept about a year or so ago. And then we did get a few comments from Lucas. So I can actually share an updated version of the plans. So I know we got them the other day and have sort of been working through, and sorry for the late submission, but we just submitted a response to those comments. A number of comments, but I just want to walk through the few that I think.
Yeah, Nick, why don't we, thank you for the presentation, Nick and Bridget. Why don't we have Joe go through his comments?
Sure.
And then, Nick, after Joe goes through his comments, you can respond.
Sure.
That's okay. Thank you. Joe?
Yep. Hi. So as far as my site visit, I was familiar with the site. I was out there a couple times during the ANRAD process. I didn't go out again specifically for this filing, but I did have some comments on the notice of intent application. One of the items was that with respect to the proposed septic system on 190 Fruit Street. After I reread the language in the bylaw, it seems to me that there's an additional, you have the 125-foot setback from the vernal pool, and then there's an additional 100-foot setback from that for any septic system if it's up gradient. So the septic system on 190 is actually within that 100 feet of the 125-foot setback. So I'm not sure. I don't know that I've come across a situation in the town with a septic system within that distance of a vernal pool. So I'm not exactly sure how the commission has dealt with this in the past, but certainly recommend that be discussed. There was a comment on the site plans that were submitted that I reviewed, not having been in the colors that were required, but that has been rectified with the current revised plans. I also noted that one of the tables in the filing had noted the wetland across the street drains to the site wetlands in the northeast corner. In a flood condition, that would be the case, but in a normal conditions, the site actually drains to the north to that system, which is also part of an ORW for the Cedar Swamp ACEC. So you have the ACEC across the street and the wetlands on site being an ORW because they are a vernal pool and also connected to the ORW across the street. Did also note that the site is quite steep and that any construction activity that goes on here will have to be monitored very closely for erosion. Recommended some additional erosion control instead of just a silt fence, just a silt fence and a wattle at minimum. The filing noted that there would be erosion control mats, but it didn't have the location on the site plans. I recommended put them on site plans, which they have done. The narrative of the notice of intent also mentioned that there would be a phasing of the project, and I recommended some additional detail on that, which maybe the applicant can speak to. But I think there was a good response to the comments that we had submitted. That's all for right now.
Okay, great. Thank you, Joe. Yeah, I'd like to get a little bit more detail on the sequencing plan for the construction, given the steep slopes as Lucas had mentioned, but Kim, did you have any additional comments?
There we go. Apologies, I'm not used to not being the presenter. Yeah, so I guess my my main concerns just kind of echo what Jeff said. The very steep slopes that drain down towards an ORW during construction. You know, unfortunately, we've had a lot of instances in this town where the construction sequencing, erosion control, and management haven't been very well thought out ahead of time. And when we kind of leave it up to contractors, my experience has been that the contractor isn't aware that it's a requirement. So then they get stopped at the pre-construction meeting and everybody's mad at me because they're ready to go. And then they hastily put something together. So my experience, and I know that you guys get hesitant to get into means and methods, but my experience is always that we have a better outcome when engineers put more design parameters on the erosion and sedimentation controls for projects like this. So that's my first, recommendation and comment. The second thing that I wanted to bring up, just for the benefit of the commission, there is a similar single-family development at 182 Fruit Street, and it's caused significant problems for the DPW. It's ranked among the top 5 sites within the town to examine for our FEMA brick stormwater funds. There was a single family home and they have an infiltration basin, and every single time it rains, the outlet clogs with debris. I guess debris are just due to the steep slopes, they come down the slope real fast, and the outlet clogs and the stormwater bypasses the system. So my other concern is just how are these stormwater systems maintained, and is it reasonable to expect a homeowner to put in the level of maintenance necessary for this to function?
Thank you, Kim. And, I just want to kind of echo Kim's point, so there's a detention basin on a private property. The resident is going to be responsible for maintaining that detention basin. And I guess, in my mind, what's the likelihood that that's going to happen? I mean, it's in my mind, very unlikely. So I think I'll open up to questions and comments from the other commission members at this point. But that's my kind of 2 cents.
Hey, Jeff, this is Jim.
Yes, Jim.
I would say the same thing. I mean, it's not likely. Our experience has been that the next owner, the one after that, they don't know that they're supposed to maintain something and they don't. And this property would be the same situation as 182. That's it.
Thank you, Jim.
Through the chair, I have a question or two.
Yes, Ted, go ahead.
I realize we're very early in this plan, but I'm curious if the applicant could tell me how many trees would be chopped down within the buffer zone that we're supposed to be looking after for that very long driveway and for the re-landscaping and all of it. Do we have a guesstimate?
The survey doesn't show the single. I mean, I could go out, we could go out there and count. I don't want to throw a number out without
you said it-
specifically looking at that.
Through the chair, you said it's pretty heavily wooded though, right now.
It's it's pretty heavily treed.
And if I may continue, if I'm reading the plans correctly, next to the 190 building, there's a tremendous amount of reshaping the earth. Yeah, I think I'm looking at the contour lines in light gray and then redone contour lines in black. Is that true? Is that what I see? I'm looking
Correct.
at the other side of the house, Kim, or whoever's working. Yeah, that.
This one.
Am I understanding that would be a dramatic reshaping of the earth to make those contour lines? Or am I misunderstanding the plan?
There's
No.
a I mean, it's this is 5 feet of grade change between the existing and the proposed. Through this area, it's 4 feet. So I wouldn't say it's dramatic. I think it looks worse than it probably is.
But to do that, I realize that a lot of that is outside of our jurisdiction, but to do that, trees would have to be cleared there too, to reshape things, yes?
Correct.
Yeah, so
Jeff,
I'm concerned with the concerns we heard from Jeff and Jim, but looking at where all of the water is going to go, remembering recent stories with projects we've had, the 190 lot concerns me a great deal for the driveway reasons, for the tree chopping reasons, for the regrading reasons. All of that is really concerning to me. Thanks.
Thank you,
Jeff, can
Ted. Yeah, Jim, go ahead.
just to add to that, I think to maybe better answer Ted's question, there is substantial earthwork that needs to be done to achieve these grades and to prepare the site, both sites, for buildings. So it may not appear that there's much of an elevation change, but the amount of work that needs to be done to regrade, I submit, is at least as much as Turkey Ridge, if not more.
To the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
As the member probably who's the most senior resident in town, I have seen a number of these projects on these kinds of slopes, and I have seen the result, and it's not good. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Jeff, can I add something?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Jim.
Even though some of the site work may be outside of our jurisdiction, we still have interests to protect for groundwater, surface water, and offsite. So even though something may be outside of our jurisdiction, the site work that's done and the grading that's done outside of our jurisdiction may still be of concern to us because it affects something that's in our jurisdiction. Out.
Thank you, Jim. Yeah, the grading, in my mind is, particularly with the 190 building lot, in the 188 building lot for that matter, it's significant. So, my sense is we need to take another look at this.
It's huge.
Yeah. And to Kim's comments, we've had issues with sites like this, and the grading, inadequate construction, sequencing, which we don't have at this point. So I think we need to have the applicant, dig into this a little bit deeper into how, this project's going to be constructed.
Well, through the chair, I agree with the prior comments from the rest of the commission, but also, the project might not be in the 50-foot buffer zone, but looks like we're pretty much losing the entire 50 to 100-foot buffer zone. And to me, that's quite significant.
Yeah, that's right.
Agreed. Okay. Any other comments from commission members at this point? Questions or comments from the public? Okay. Nick, I think, you've heard from the commission. I think there's a little bit more work that needs to be done in this. Bridget, thank you for your presentation. And we'll continue this out to the next hearing, which is June 6th. If I get a motion to continue the hearing to June 6th.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
And we'll do the roll call vote. Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay.
No,
Thank you,
thank
folks.
Thank you. Appreciate the comments. Look forward to sort of working this through with you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to continued hearings. Roland 27 Woody Island Road, notice of intent to replace the retaining wall. Do we have the applicant on the call?
Hey, this is Dave Oppenheim.
Mr.
Good
Lockhart,
evening.
good evening.
I have Steve Rowland here with me as well, owner and applicant. So we were back in front of the board back in March 14th. We've made some adjustments on the notice of intent for the information that was lacking. I believe we're all set with the notice. We updated the plan with some additional site features. We indicated the existing driveway to the north from Woody Island Road that's going to serve as our access point. We've indicated some plantings, some spot elevations, some contours, some walkways, some planters, some grass. One of the comments that some of the board members had was to indicate the downspouts. If we could disconnect the downspouts and put a flexible tubing and piping and move it and change the direction from heading to the lake to the front yard, which we've done. There was a retaining wall behind the house underneath the deck that's been added as a existing site condition. We've tightened up on our labeling of our existing retaining walls 1 through 5. We also investigated the existing elevation of the existing retaining wall. Our proposed retaining wall is exactly at the same elevation. There is existing stone underneath the existing retaining wall. We're not touching that. We're not digging that. There's no more handwork required. So we're matching exactly what's there today. We've actually put a phase line on. We're going to start with, on this particular drawing, from the 2 oak trees. We're going to go to the left first, pull down that section of wall and leave the right-hand side, start with the construction on the left-hand side, and then slowly creep into phase 2 as we construct both sides at the same time. But we're not going to pull down the entire wall at the same time. Erosion control remains the same. The trees are going to remain the same. We're leaving those. The top of the wall is exactly the same. The limit of the wall is exactly the same. We've indicated low water mark, firm flood as best we could from a scale firm map. So we've kind of brought everything back into line. We do have a file number. We have not filed yet. We're going to file shortly with Chapter 91 and get that rolling. So I think we've kind of brought everything that the commission was looking for and kind of indicate and put some clarity on the plan with some details. And I think we have a lot of things that have been addressed.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Marconaut. So you just, so the Chapter 91 license, you are going forward with that
Yes.
application? That's correct?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, great. So I think that'll be a condition of the order when we vote on this, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay. Joe, did you have any additional comments?
A couple minor ones. I think the previous comments were substantially addressed. Just had a couple of questions. They're describing the use of a TerraGuard jute mat to stabilize the soil behind the wall. I was just wondering if they could provide a little more information on that, whether it's strictly jute or if it's a polypropylene netting product, or what the construction of that is, if it's biodegradable or not, and if the intent is to leave it in place the entire time and backfill it. Also noted the Zone A flood line has been added to the site plan as was requested, and it's based on the scaled off the plan because it's not an AE zone. It's not based on an elevation, and as you can see, it's located well down gradient of the proposed wall. I think realistically the flood zone would extend to the existing wall, but they are not proposing any changes in grade, so there would not be any need for any compensatory flood storage. I did not see if a waiver request had been submitted for work in the resource area on the actual bank. It was not in any of the materials that I had reviewed. And I had the comment regarding the Chapter 91 license, which was addressed. That was it.
Okay, thank you, Joe. So Dave, can you just give us a little more
Yep.
information on the jute mat?
Yes, so, yeah, we could provide a cut sheet on the jute. We're realizing that this wall is going to be constructed in sort of the colder season, so we don't anticipate any erosion. We are going to have it provided. We are going to use it. It's not really behind our existing wall. Appears to be a 3/4 inch crushed stone. So to use a typical jute with an opening, that's probably, some of that stone's going to probably go right through. A lot of that material is the stone. There really isn't much earthwork. So we're going to kind of use a coconut fiber and 70% straw. It's kind of like a blanket that's biodegradable with no weeds. So we're going to lay that in. And then it will just it just disintegrate over time. So
Got it. Okay.
yeah, you can see the
great.
stone
Thank
that's there. Yeah.
Okay, questions? Yep, sorry, go ahead, Joe. Dave.
Yep. So we will provide for the variance. We'll do that. And yes, like I said, we are going to file with Chapter 91.
Okay, great. Thank you. Questions or comments from commission members?
To the chair,
Yes, Kim.
I would just recommend a special condition on any order that we issued to have our order be null and void should the applicant not obtain the Chapter 91 license as required.
Okay,
Or just, I don't know, maybe, and we do have a special condition that says all the other approvals need to be in hand. Maybe we're already covered.
yeah, because the chapter
Yeah.
91 needs to be in hand, right? As a condition of our permit
Mhm. Yeah,
or
sorry.
our order, right, Kim?
Thinking out loud, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Jim, did you have a comment?
No. Why is my hand raised? No.
Okay, I thought, all right. Any other comments, questions from commission members? Questions or comments from the audience? Okay, Kim, are we comfortable on voting on this tonight?
I'm comfortable voting. Like Dave said, I'm still expecting the waiver and the spec on the jute matting. But
Right.
otherwise,
right.
yes, I am
Yeah, so
comfortable.
if, we'll make a contingent on getting the details on the jute matting, right?
Mm.
Okay, if I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent for 27 Woody Island Road with the conditions noted and subject to receipt of the Chapter 91 license application.
Move.
And
Second.
and that Kim will sign on behalf of the commission members present.
I'll make that motion as you just amended it.
And a
And I
second,
will
please.
second.
All right, we'll do the roll call votes. Jim,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
Janine,
Aye.
Ted,
Aye.
Carrie,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye. Okay, great. Thank you, Dave.
Hey, thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
You too. Bye-bye.
Okay, moving along, RDA for Matt Gherkin, 55 North Mill Street. This is a request for determination of applicability for an in-ground pool.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. My
Mr.
name's
Hill.
Norman Hill. My name's Norman Hill from Land Planning. My address is 52 Millbury Street in Grafton, representing the McEacherns this evening. We had discussed this at the last meeting. and there were some changes you asked me to make to this plan. One change was to add a leach pit for backwashing the pool or for draining the pool. We've added a leach pit. And you asked us to add siltation controls around the temporary stockpile area. And we've noted that they've got to put those siltation controls around that stockpile area. And then you asked for a 10-foot wide swath of land to be allowed to grow back in. That's that gray area you see on the plan. That is currently lawn. And my clients have agreed to let that lawn grow back naturally. So they will no longer mow that lawn. And they've agreed to put signs every 30 feet to mark the protected area. So that area would be allowed to grow back in. I'd like to also point out that this is a proposal for a new swimming pool, which will be built in an area that's currently all lawn. So we're not proposing to take down any trees. And I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. Hill. I think this addresses all of the comments, but Joe, you want to?
Sure. Through the chair, I did look over the revisions, and I agree. I believe all the comments and questions have been addressed adequately.
Thank you. Jim, did you have any additional comments or questions?
No comments.
And commission members? Members of the audience? Okay, if I can get a motion to issue a negative determination for the request for determination of applicability and to have Kim sign on behalf of the commission members present.
I'll make that motion.
Jim, and a second.
Ted, second.
Okay, and we'll do the roll call vote. Jim?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Janine?
Aye.
Ted?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
And Jeff is an aye.
Thank you all very much. Everyone stay well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. All right, moving along, Hopkinton Parks and Rec, 4 Lakeshore Drive. This is a notice of intent for seasonal dock. I think, Kim, all we were waiting on with this application was the DEP file number, correct?
You are correct.
All right, are there any questions or comments from commission members?
To the chair,
Yes.
we still don't have the DEP file number. I think we need to
Okay.
continue. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Kim. All right, so we'll continue that out. Were there any questions or comments from the audience while we're on this application? Okay. Sing 42 Greenwood Road. This is a continuation of a notice of intent for the tennis court. Kim, you want to give us an update?
Sure. Just give me a second to pull this up. So this is an application, like you said, Jeff, for the construction of a tennis court in the rear of a single-family home. At the last meeting, the applicant provided updated plans the day of the meeting. And the commission requested that Lucas Environmental be allowed some time to review the updated plans and provide a comment, which Lucas Environmental has done. And the applicant has actually already responded to the comment as well. So I wonder if it would be most efficient to have Joe run through his comments briefly and then have the applicant respond to get us up to the current progress.
Thank you, Kim. Yep. Go ahead, Joe.
All right. So I had a couple of comments. I had noted initially that the wetland extended up along the east side of the house or the lot and was not delineated. I think there was some discussion of that at the first meeting, and that Although it's not delineated, it would likely have a very minimal impact on the buffer zone where any work is proposed, if any, based on the distance from the proposed work. But just pointed out that again, that had not been delineated. I don't know that the commission had requested that. I don't think so, but just making that comment. There was some discussion at the last hearing regarding the easement and the use of that easement. I had no further comment on that. I think it was discussed in detail at the last meeting. The PIB markers have been added to the revised plan as requested. I had noted that there were some issues, some items that remain missing on WPA Form 3. I believe those have been substantially rectified. The plan stamped by a professional structural engineer had been submitted as requested. I had noted in the review memo that the composition of the proposed court had not been included, but I think it may have been discussed at the last meeting, and it was noted in the applicant's recent response that it will be concrete. The revised plans address the slope issue of the court somewhat, and have a very minimal slope going to the back. The plans showed some tow drains, but did not show any locations where those were daylighting. And I had recommended that some information on that be provided. Also noted there was some question about being able to the distance between proposed work and the northern property line seems pretty tight. There's about 10 feet there. So, the commission can discuss whether or not they feel that's too tight, but there is about 10 feet between the limit of grading and the property line. The revised plan pulled back the limit of the existing boulder retaining wall and reestablished native natural grade and planting of native vegetation. I had commented that as depicted, the planting is kind of grid-like and recommended a more natural planting plan of group plants. And the applicant did comment on that in his most recent revisions. And also I noted in my last review that there were extensive construction notes included on the wall construction plan. And had recommended that the commission discuss whether construction monitoring and reporting by a qualified engineer be required as a condition of any approval. And that was about it for my last review memo.
Okay, thank you, Joe.
Yeah.
Mr. McManus, are you on the call?
Good evening. I'm Kate O'Donnell from Ecotech. I'm filling in for Paul. He had a conflict this evening.
Oh, okay. Hi, Kate.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good, thank you.
So to address some of the, I think Paul submitted a written response, but I'll just run through some of those outstanding comment responses.
Yeah.
So the Hopkinton bylaw notice of intent form was submitted, and it was also revised to include the proposed planting area. As mentioned by Joe, the tennis court would be constructed of concrete, and as well as the surrounding area. The tow drain, the proposed location would likely be at the low point of the wall, which would be the northwestern corner. That would just be where the water would naturally drain to. So that would be the ideal location for that. And that would be, that would have very minimal flow to it, because that's just draining the incidental water that would be in the soil. So there wouldn't be really any erosion associated with that, in our opinion.
Okay.
The plantings that are shown on the plan as well are just a conceptual plan to show the extent of the plantings as well as the number. So when they're planted in the ground, they'll be put in a more naturalized manner. And lastly, the applicant would agree to a silt fence condition in addition to the compost sock. And I believe that would be everything outstanding, but if there are any further questions from the commission or the public, we'd be happy to address those.
Yeah, so Kate, is the location of the tow drain actually depicted on the plan?
It's not currently.
So you say it in the northeast.
Sorry, northwest part of the wall.
Or the northwest part of the northwest. Yeah, northwest part of the wall. Okay.
Yep, that's the low point if you look at the current grade.
Yeah. Yep. So in that kind of triangular area there, it would be.
Yep.
Okay. 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 Okay, I'll open it up to comments or questions from commission members.
Okay, through the chair, I'm gonna ask an Ed question. I wanna
Yes,
know
Ed.
I wanna know how the concrete's gonna get in there.
How the concrete's gonna get in there?
Yes,
The access.
Can you elaborate, Ed?
well, the court is going to be constructed of concrete. Somehow, concrete has to be gotten in there. Is the idea to use,
So
The
access is your question?
yeah. Are we gonna be having big concrete trucks, going in on what Halt has agreed as an easement? Is that over what they expected? I have no idea. I'm curious.
If I may interject, Chair, this is Harpreet Singh. So it's actually going to be asphalt, not concrete.
Okay, well, it brings up the same question. How is it going to be done? Asphalt has to be delivered in there too, and equipment has to be brought in to roll it. As long as Halt is happy with, using their easement, that's okay. I just don't know what Halt knows. Thank you.
Yep. So yeah, we have Halt's permission, and Halt is aware that this is a hard surface coat, and then they are also on the notice of intent as signatories. That is my understanding.
Yeah, Mr. Daushi is on the call, and I believe he represents Halt. Is that correct, Mr. Daushi?
That is correct. Chuck Dauchi, on the Halt Board of Directors, and this access question is relevant. Yes, Halt did provide an access easement. But I also point out that the Conservation Commission holds a CR on that same area. So access is also up to their permission, not to mention their authority under the Wetlands Protection Act and town bylaw. The amount of easement that was provided was not specifically intended to allow construction of a tennis court, but at least for access for maintenance of the areas to the rear of the large retaining wall behind the house. Uh, So I trust that the commission will consider that any equipment access there needs to be sized to stay within the easement unless some change is made, both with the approval of the commission under their CR and halt. That's not out of the question, but it is very tight at that corner for any large heavy equipment or trucks. Thank you.
To the chair, this is Kate O'Donnell.
Yes, Kate, go ahead.
To quickly address the easement, the proposed erosion control barrier shown with the thick black line would serve as a limit of work. So there would be no way to access beyond the limit of work. And then we would have a 10-foot wide gravel access way installed for the trucks to access without damaging the soil. And then once the work was completed, it would be restabilized and revegetated with grass.
Okay, thank you, Kate. So just going back, Mr. Daushi, so, just kind of a direct question. Is HALT allowing permission for the homeowner to use that access point to, construct the tennis court?
It was not restricted specifically.
I think it's a
was
yes or
for-
no question, so it's either yes or
It
no.
was for access to the rear.
So it's a yes or, Mr. Daushi, are you allowing it or are you not allowing it is the question.
We were not specific as to the use.
So yes or no is the question.
Without
Yes or no?
referring to the
So
specifics.
it's
of
a
the
yes or no question,
easement.
Mr. Daushi, sorry. Are you allowing
that
it
is not
or
a
is HALT
question.
allowing it or are you not allowing it?
That is in the terms of the easement, which I do not have before me now. And
So you,
again,
so is that a no or a yes?
that is not, no,
It's a
I
yes
do
or a
not,
no question, Mr. Daushi.
there is no answer. If you will allow me to review the easement, which you certainly can do yourselves.
Why don't, so I guess, I don't want to keep pushing this, kicking the can on this application down the road. But it sounds like HALT needs to review the easement and
We
get back
did
to
not-
us on
we
whether
did
it's
not restrict-
so, excuse me,
we
sir,
did-
hold on a second. So I think HALT needs to review the easement and either it's a yes or a no on whether they're going to allow access for the construction of the tennis court. So it sounds like you need to do a little bit of homework and decide with your group whether or not that's allowable.
Well, rather than kicking the can, the easement was provided for equipment access. If the equipment can stay within that easement, then it is allowed under the HALT easement.
To the chair,
Yes.
this is
Kate.
Kate O'Donnell from Ecotech. I have the easement pulled up here, if you would like to read through it.
No, I don't think that's necessary. So if the equipment,
I can read
Is-
an applicable section.
so Mr. Daushi, if the equipment can stay within the easement, then it's allowable. Is that what I heard you say?
That would be my understanding.
Okay. So that's your understanding, but we need from HALT since you're allowing the easement, either yes or no on whether you're gonna allow the equipment to construct the tennis court through that access area.
Within the easement, yes.
Okay, Kim, do you have anything else any other questions? Am I off base on this, or just want to get your opinion, Kim?
Processing.
So I think
I don't have any other comments related to the easement.
So it sounds like, yep, sorry.
I take it as, and when this application came in, I did kind of bounce it back and say, no, Halt needs to sign this as part of the, landowners that are going to be accessed. So, from a commission standpoint, and in my role as protector of the commission's legality and the legality of the actions that you take, I feel comfortable with this as it's presented.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Kim. Mr. Dash, I'm not trying to be difficult. I just want to make sure that, if this is approved, that we're not running inconsistent with what Halt is asking for with regard to the easement. That's all.
No, this is certainly within the scope of the easement. I just want to point out that the commission holds a CR on that area, and I would hope that they would consider whether this is within the scope of their CR, and if not, provide an appropriate waiver.
Yeah, I think Kate has mentioned that, once the construction is completed, that access point is going to be, restored and revegetated. So I think I'm speaking from my perspective. I'll open it up to the other commission members, but I'm comfortable with that. And let me open it up to the other commission members for their comments and questions.
So through the chair, I just want to confirm, because I'm looking at a picture of sort of that right back corner of the easement, and there are trees in that area. No trees will need to come down to get a dump truck in there?
No, we have discussed this extensively with the construction crew, and no trees will be removed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, other questions, comments from commission members? Questions or comments from the audience? Okay, so I think we are ready to vote on this, Kim, unless I'm not seeing something that you need to bring to my attention. Are we good?
Well, one final question for Ecotech would just be, is the drainage system associated with the wall adequate to accept the runoff that you anticipate coming off of the tennis court and the planting area, given that it does seem to have be very compacted area and have some trouble infiltrating?
I would defer to the engineer, and the engineer, that's their specialty, so they designed it according to how they believe it should be done, and that's their expertise. I do believe they added some extra drainage features, including the stone area. So I think we discussed this at the last hearing. And I believe it is sufficient, and it's my understanding that the engineer also believes it's sufficient and designed it to that. So.
Okay, thank you. Is the applicant amendable to a mitigation planting success commitment? When there's replication areas, the commission generally expects 75% survival. Is that something that the applicant can commit to?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kim and Kate. If I can get a motion to close and approve the notice of intent with the conditions discussed for 42 Greenwood Road.
This is Ted. I'll make that
And,
motion.
pardon me, and for Kim to sign on behalf of the members present.
I'll make the motion with that addition.
Okay, Ted, in a second.
Second.
And we'll do the roll call vote. Janine,
Aye.
Ed,
Is that, if that was Ted, Ted's an aye.
Ted, Ed,
With the understanding that everyone else is gonna vote yes, I will vote yes, although I don't like this. Thank you.
okay, Carrie,
Aye.
and Jeff is an aye.
Thank you, guys.
And I got Janine, right? Yeah, okay, all right,
We
thank
didn't
you.
get Jim through
Jim,
the chair.
yes, Anna.
We just missed Jim.
Jim,
I miss Jim too. I'm an aye.
all right, thank you. All right, Kate, thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Have a
good
good
night.
evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Singh. And good luck with the tennis, young lady.
Thank you.
I wish you well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Hughes 47 Stony Brook Road, request for a 1-year extension permit. Kim, you want to give us a little bit of background on this, please?
Sure, let me see if I can find a good plan for us to look at. Okay. So 47 Stony Brook Road. There's generally a wetland complex here. I believe this is to the south. It was originally permitted as 2 single-family homes with a common drive. Since the time of permitting, the application has changed to 1 single-family home with a single driveway on the same lot. So this is the same parcel kind of turned. So the wetland complex is over here. So the applicant is requesting an extension of their existing permit. The house is constructed. Let me pull up some photos for you. Super difficult because every time you're trying to find what you're looking for, you're going through 3 different files. Hang on. Here we go. Okay. All right, so the house is constructed, the driveway's in, the septic is in. For all intents and purposes, there's this application is almost all the way there. Yeah, here's the house, here's the septic with a little bit of vegetation. When I went out, I did notice that a lot of the area is unvegetated, kind of loose soils.
Mhm.
And there was evidence of real erosion kind of occurring in various spots. Like you can see here, there's erosion controls and somebody dumped some riprap to kind of control it down towards the slope. It does look like there's efforts to install erosion controls and good practices for erosion and sedimentation. So the contractor has been doing a good job, but the condition out there is just a lot of unsecured dirt. So I did reach out to the homeowner about my concerns. She had provided an update that their landscapers intended to spread loam and do final seeding in late June. I reached out to her and let her know that that timetable is advisable, that timetable be moved up into May, not only for erosion and sedimentation control, but also because the seeding will take much better in May versus late June. You can see there some of the old erosion controls getting overwhelmed. And there are two areas on the site, which was interesting, where groundwater kind of breaks out of the slope, one there and one there. And the groundwater is currently flowing over area that's unsecured and kind of carrying sediment. So that will need to be dealt with. There's a stockpile here. The homeowner is receptive to moving the plan up for final stabilization. And I believe that the site contractor is going to help the landscaper out to get some site stabilization going as soon as possible. Jamie, the homeowner, has been awaiting patiently on the line. Jamie, do you want to jump in and add anything here?
Yes, I mean, our goal is to try to get this done as soon as possible. At the end, obviously we're close to the end of May, but the end of May, early June, because we agree with you, Kim. Obviously, if we do it late June, there's a possibility it may not take. And the last thing we want to do after this extremely challenging project is to waste any money. So that is our goal. And we have the excavator out there now, prepping it so we can get the loom in ASAP. So our goal is to do everything you ask as quickly as possible. It's just been such a challenging project for us and really overwhelming. So everything has been pushed back and has been just a little difficult. So that's where we are right now. But we are absolutely trying, and we have an amazing builder who has been keeping up with the erosion control, and he has people out there all the time. He would come out every rainstorm to make sure nothing was breached or anything like that. So we're doing our absolute best. I can assure you that.
Yeah. So Jamie, are you the homeowner?
Yes, my husband and I.
Yeah. Okay. And who's the contractor, if you don't mind me asking?
Brenshaw Corp. It's Dave Wilkinson from Brenshaw Corp.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, no, we appreciate you, I know it's frustrating. It's been a challenging project for you guys. We appreciate the efforts on the erosion controls. You guys have done and the contractor has done a great job with making sure that, the site is stabilized and nothing's getting into the resource areas. Having said that, we just need to get this kind of buttoned up, as you say. So I think the 1-year extension request is appropriate, Kim.
Yeah, I would agree. And if you're amendable, I like to carry this on the agenda for one more time and see where we're at at our June meeting. As we said, the contractor appears to be doing a good job with the erosion controls, but given the volume of unsecured soils, if we did have a really big storm, it does make me a little bit nervous.
Okay.
So I do just want to kind of keep us in our view to make sure that it kind of gets
Jamie,
prioritized.
Does that make sense, Jamie, to you? If we can just continue this
and
up.
I'm sorry, I don't know. I haven't been on a call like this before, but does that just mean, so waiting, you just want to have an update and then you wait to extend it, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So our next meeting is June 6th. So if we can just, postpone the extension request for the 1 year to the June 6th, just to make sure that, you know, the contractor does the stabilization that we've discussed.
Okay.
Through the chair, may I ask Kim to do something super quick?
Yeah, yep, go ahead, Ted.
Kim, could you click back one picture?
That way?
Uh,
The other
Maybe,
way?
I don't know. There was one where I thought I saw, oh, there it is. That was the one. That's
Oh.
just regular road salt sediment going into the storm drain. That's not from the work site.
I think it is. It's this catch basin isn't too clogged or overwhelmed. There's also actually another house under construction, like to the back, to my back.
Okay.
So there could be a lot of different
All right.
things going on with this
I
catch
just, as
basin.
you were clicking through, that caught my eye. So I just wanted to take a longer look.
Yep. Yeah, that was one of the first things I did was go down to that catch basin and see what was going on, but it looked good.
Okay, thank you. Sorry to slow things down, Jeff.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Ted. Okay, so Jamie, we'll just continue this out to the next meeting, and then, you know, if the contractor is, goes forward with the stabilization, we should be good to go.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you.
Through the chair.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, Kim.
Sorry, just one more thing for Jamie's benefit.
Yes.
Hydro seed with tackifier would be my
Hydro seed with
recommendation. Mhm.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
It'll get it nice and sticky and a good layer of seed on there. And so the loam, it should hold the loam down and get you a good base for growth.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you so much.
Welcome to town. Yep.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. So Kim, what was that you recommended?
Just a hydro
Tackif-
seed with a tackifier. It's like a bonding agent.
Oh, a tackifier. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Okay. All right, Wall Street development violation discussion. Kim, I don't think Mr. Petrosi's on the call. Do you want to give us an update on? I know that Ted went out to the site a couple weeks ago and the erosion controls were less than.
Yes. So Ted went out on April 23rd and again on April 30th. His photos on April 30th alarmed me.
Thank you for going out, Ted, by the way.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry, Kim.
It's what I do, Jeff.
The contractor added a topsoil to some of the lots. So you can see he's made substantial compliance on the construction of the actual homes. And see how there's kind of like a topsoil layer. That's what kind of eroded. This layer of erosion controls here was new as of my site visit. This was not installed on April 30th at the time of the violation. The middle erosion control layers, I believe, were there. Ted, you can correct me if I'm wrong. However, they were not towed into the slope. So they were basically flapping in the wind.
And they're heavily deteriorated. They've been sitting there untended for over a year. I don't know.
And then you can see the original limit of work and erosion controls here. So those are in a complete state of disrepair. So you can see in this photo where sediment had gone through the grass, through the silt fence, which was not towed, and then into the vegetated wetland area. So there was here's a picture of Anna holding up the silt fence to just display that it's installed incorrectly. So there was this area and there's another area along the driveway where the sedimentation occurred there. You can see as well before these erosion controls were installed. And there's another blowout. So there were several locations of blowouts due to inadequate erosion controls. So I did issue a notice of violation on May 1st for the observations that Ted made on the 30th. I provided this to Mr. Petrosi and let him know that we were going to have this conversation, but he declined to attend. And as I had stated, by the time I went out there, I believe it was the 3rd, May 3rd, or 4th. He did install an additional line of erosion controls, a silt sock with a silt fence that is towed. It's towed about 6 inches, not a foot that I like to see, but we do have some installation effort there. So these erosion controls were installed in response to my notice of violation.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would guess, Jeff, kind of what my question is, what would the commission like to do for next steps?
So you sent the violation letter to him, right? To Mr. Petrosi. Correct?
Correct.
I would think that, and I'll open it up to the other commission members. I think we have Mr. Petrosi attend our next meeting to, discuss the current situation. So Kim, the one detention basin where they have the, I'm trying to recall what they called it, but they had the PVC pipes that kind of, were those capped as they're supposed to be, do you know?
I did check those. They were capped.
They were capped. Okay, good.
Yep. Here's the basin on the day of our inspection.
Yeah, what did they call that again? The
level spreader.
The level spreader. Yeah,
Mhm.
thank you. That was what I was, the level spreader. Okay. So that's capped. So good. Okay. Yeah, so I think, I don't know. What do you guys think? Just have Mr. Petrosi come to the next meeting?
Jeff, through the chair.
Yep, go ahead, Ted.
Just one other update. I did not have my phone. I didn't take pictures. What I saw on Sunday when I last walked the property looks very much like Kim's photos. There is, I would call a fairly significant sediment breakthrough along the driveway to the easternmost house. Is that it? I think so, yeah. So the sediment that got underneath has not been removed from the wetland. I don't know if, Kim, if you asked for that to happen or if the fear is that would cause more damage, but it looks like just a pair of hands could scoop the sand back out and remove it. It looked to me like they put up socks, but ignored what went under. I don't know if that's a concern to the commissioner, Kim, or not.
Yeah, I think so.
The protocol is to remove it and take it out. I can request that be done.
As of Sunday, that was not. Maybe it happened yesterday.
Honestly, he should probably remove the non-functional erosion controls at this point too.
Yeah.
Although they are serving as kind of a demarcation of our original limit of work.
So from looking at Kim's photos, I mean, there is that like area that, okay, yep, there's the erosion control barriers and and there's some improvement, but some of the other pictures, it still looks like there's issues. So, I mean, what Ted found hasn't completely been fixed. A lot of it's still in disrepair today, right?
It's just that additional erosion controls keep getting added in front of the older erosion controls. Obviously our limit of work hasn't changed, but additional erosion controls keep getting added up gradient of the original as work is completed.
Do we think the issues that of Ted's pictures, which I agree were a mess, is that at this point, has that all been fixed or are they still in violation?
I would say because of the new erosion controls installed, the potential for additional sediment migration to the wetlands is now somewhat minimal. Okay. But the sediment that's already there in between that area could definitely still migrate to the wetlands, like you're seeing in this photo, like all this sediment. Actually, the displaced sediment from the Ditch Witch when they installed the silt fence could also run down into the wetland as well. So
yeah, maybe I'm just gonna kind of throw this out there. Maybe we make the request to Mr. Petruzzi that the sediment that has has been displaced beyond the erosion controls be removed by hand. As a request, and then we have him come before the commission next meeting to give us an update on, what the status is.
Okay.
I don't know. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, to me it does.
Jeff, are we asking for status just around that wetland right off of Leonard, but also, or back of the property by Mr. Terry's property, where while I don't see sediment flowing into Mr. Terry's property, the erosion controls haven't been fixed literally in years, and there's lots of water running around dead silt socks, around fallen, right back there.
Yeah, I think
One of the photos I took, I tried to take a short video. I don't know how clear it was, so that you could see how much water is running unrestrained into Mr. Terry's property.
Yeah, I think a complete update, Ted, is my sense.
Okay.
And
Yeah, here we
Kim,
go.
Yikes.
did we, so there was the discussion, and I'm not sure all the commission members are up to speed.
There's
on
my
this,
video.
with the Pleasant Street and Maple Street, kind of groundwater seep there. I know that you had talked to the Mr. Westerling and I think Mr. Manser about that. Was that ever kind of, do we know what happened with that? Whether the
So-
source of that was determined,
Yeah, the short answer is I do not have an answer for that at the time. However, let me see if I can ground myself. I do not believe that these two things are connected.
Okay.
So
So just for the
The-
commissions, just to give everyone a bit of background on this, I'm trying to think who it was that originally reached out to us, Kim. It was one of the neighbors on Maple Street. There's a groundwater seep on Maple Street. And one of the neighbors had reached out to Kim and myself and Melissa and said, is this the result of the development that's going on Leonard Street? There was kind of preliminary thoughts that maybe when they put the utilities in for the Petruzzi development, that the utility kind of dams weren't put in, but the highway department actually verified that they were put in. So to make a long story short, I think the question was, is this seep associated with the Petruzzi development or the other development on Box? I forget what the road is.
no.
Box Mill or whatever. So we looked into it, and sorry, Kim, I'm not explaining this very well, but we determined that it wasn't associated with Petruzzi's development, correct?
That is correct. You're doing a great job. Making my life easy.
Thanks. So anyways, there's a groundwater seep on Maple Street. They're not sure what the origin of it was. They thought it was from Petruzzi's development, but we determined that wasn't the case. And I don't think they've figured out where it's coming from at this point.
I know that DPW was going to, do some investigation and rip up the road a little bit and kind of look under there. So I'm not sure if that occurred yet, but I can follow up with It goes Mike Manser.
Okay.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Hey, Ed. Yep.
Maple Street or Maple Street Extension?
I think it was Maple Street, right, Kim?
Yep. So it's right around this area right here. So this is Pleasant, this is Maple, and this is Maple Extension. And then here's the Leonard Street development. So the actual location of the groundwater seep is right at this property here.
Not for nothing, seep is a gentle word. It's astounding how much water was being pumped out of that house on the corner.
Yeah, good
It's
point.
kind of
53
flooding the
Pleasant.
road there for the property next to it, down to that road that cuts back north. It was unbelievable. The pump would stop and literally 10 seconds later, it would kick on again with massive amounts of water coming out.
Wow.
Yeah, seep. You're right. It's there's pretty good flow going on there. Okay. So anyways, just wanted to bring the commission up to speed on that because that was something that the residents had reached out to us on. And then public forum requests. Kim, do you just want to give everyone an update on the forest cutting permits situation? So everyone's up to speed on that.
Do we want to talk about Kimball or Teresa?
Let's talk about Kimball first.
So Ed may be more up to speed on Kimball than I am. But the information that I received as of last Friday was that the landowner had asked their tree contractor to stop cutting and that they were amendable to discussions with abutters and possibly the town about the future of the land.
Yeah, so this was, I'm not sure everyone's even up to speed on what happened, but so off of Kimball Road, which is off of Chestnut Street, tree contractors came in and started, clear cutting a privately owned lot. I think it was 40 or 60 acres, Kim. I don't remember the exact acreage. So the neighbors had reached out to Kim and Anna, how can this happen? What's going on? Why isn't this going before the Conservation Commission? And as it turns out, as part of the DCR forest cutting plan, which is exempt from the Wetland Protection Act and from our local bylaw. And there's a couple of these that have been filed in town. And it's unfortunate because, these logging or tree clearing companies come in, they don't have to, there's no recourse for Kim to say, hey, this is kind of the vernal pools, buffer zones, these are the wetlands. They're allowed to just come in and basically cut right up until the wetland boundary. So as you probably read in the paper, the neighbors for Kimball Road had spoke to the property owner, and the property owner agreed to stop the cutting until an agreement can be potentially made for the town or some other party buying the land. And maybe Ed, you can jump in here and kind of give us an update on what's going on.
Yeah, Sam Sater and Bob Levinson came to open space and explained all of this, and that the owner was allegedly amenable to selling it, but no price has yet been mentioned. I have brought it to the attention of the town manager and have had no response. And I think that's about the limit of what I know. The open space voted to look into acquiring the property. What the value of the property is, I have no idea. Whether it's within our resources, I have no idea. There's a lot of balls that are still up in the air, I guess, for lack of a better word. We open space said, let's, get some people together, hopefully with Norman, and chew the fat on this. And so far, nothing along those lines has yet happened.
So Ed, there's a kind of an ad hoc committee that's being put together to discuss what the options are, is that correct?
That's what our attempt is to do, yes. And at this point, there have been discussions with people and with people who would be willing to sit in such an ad hoc group. But the group is still in a state of we're thinking about it, and said group is not yet met. I'm hoping this week that I'll have a chance to chat with Bob or Sam and see if we can start to get some direction with that. I think very early on, we need a price to have somewhere to work from, and we don't have that.
Right, it has to be fair market value to be considered under the CPC, right? Funding.
Again,
Yeah.
the land would have to be appraised, and Jim can maybe speak to this better than I. But if the appraised value comes in, say at 5, and the owner wants 6 and won't settle for 5, I think it becomes a dead deal. But maybe Jim can speak to that.
That's what I understand, right, Jim?
Revenue money for whatever price. The only other thing I would say is, so the answer is, if it's CPC money, yes, it has to be at the appraisal. Ed, if you said this, I was buffering. Open space would be the one to own this and manage it, correct? Not Concom. Concom doesn't want to have a CR or anything.
Yeah, like I said, open space said that we would certainly entertain it. And
okay, good.
If it was acquired. And I forget, I just asked Shannon today how much money we've got in the pot. And I forget what it was. And whether it's enough, I have no idea.
And I would just, sorry,
I
Jim,
don't,
go
you don't
ahead.
know what the price is though, so we can't say whether we have. I mean, I could look it up and tell you how much is in there, but of course Shannon probably has the answer.
Well, throwing out the 5 million, 6 million. Do you know what the assessed value is?
If
You
you're
know, the
asking me, I don't.
Yeah,
Okay,
I don't think they have the assessed value, Jim.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was gonna say, Ed, if you were putting an ad hoc committee together, I would include Ken Weissmantle on the, as one of the committee members.
Yeah.
I haven't asked him yet, but he is on my target list.
Okay.
Obviously, and one of the benefits is obviously Ken being chair of CPC, currently chair anyway.
Yep. Okay. And then Kim, did you, so there was another forest cutting permit that came up off of Charles View Estates. And Kim and Anna met with the the DCR rep a week and a half ago. Kim, do you just want to give us a quick update on that one?
Absolutely. And Jeff is being humble. He and Melissa also met us out on the site for a little bit. So this is Teresa Road. This is the parcel in question. I believe it's about 30 acres. DCR received a forest cutting plan and we were copied on it per their regulations. We had a comment period. So the forester did extend the invitation for his site walk to us, as I had stated. We attended the site walk. When we were out there, we touched on some concerns that we had about the plan and the resource areas, and the plan for work as it related to, Hopkinton's bylaws. I do reiterate, obviously, that the DCR's forest cutting plan exempts the applicant from having to comply with those bylaws, but the DCR has said that we can comment and apply some friendly pressure. And I did receive notice last week that, here it is, the forest cutting plan for this particular parcel received a notice of disapproval from the DCR. And they named a bunch of different reasons why. And they also included that we had provided a comment, and that they requested that the applicant consider some of our local bylaws that we had went over at the site walk. So I think that was an outcome that the commission can feel good about. I'm not aware of DCR's reapplication procedure or appeal procedure. I know that there is both a reapplication and a appeal procedure, and I'll keep everybody updated if and when that moves forward.
Yeah, that was, and Kim, I just want to say that the letter that you put together to the DCR was really good. You did a great job on that. And, if you can just, maybe if you or Anna could send that to the other commission members so they could see what you put together. But I think that was really why the DCR came back and rejected the forest cutting plan, was because what you guys had put, what you and Anna had put together. So that, thank you for doing that.
Through the chair, this is Ed.
Yes, Ed.
I'm always curious. So I'm a little familiar with forest cutting plans in New Hampshire, and that they are not a case of clear cutting, that they are very selective and leave, take bigger trees and leave smaller trees, etc. So I'm curious about what it was in this one that the plans were, and why DCR rejected them. I'm pretty shocked that DCR rejected them, because my limited experience with DCR and cutting plans is not terribly favorable.
Through the chair?
Yes, Kim. Yep.
So, with the caveat that I don't speak on behalf of the DCR or the forester, based on my conversations with him, my understanding and inclination was that he was looking for additional clarity on access, staging. Primarily, the resource areas weren't all flagged. The limits of the cut weren't identified. He is requesting, it's a vegetated buffer. They have a different name for it, but it's a buffer adjacent to wetlands in which the density of the tree clearing is lower. So I believe that he's looking for that. And I believe that the map inadequately identified the crossings necessary for the access. And I will say that the way that the forester described it is that the density of the cut, it's called a terminal cut. And the intent is not to have to complete management again for another 30 years.
So it's not clearing, through you, Jeff, it's not clearing and grubbing. I mean, it's cutting, but it's not grubbing all the stumps and everything, right? And that's the selective cutting you were just talking about. I'll point out that access to this parcel, this is the Colella parcel, right? Access to it is fairly limited from Hayden Row, and not off to Teresa anywhere that I'm aware of. So we would have an interest in the crossing from Hayden Row to the subject parcel, or, you know, onto the interior to do the work.
Through the
Yeah,
chair.
Oh, good.
Jim, this is not the Colella parcel. This is a parcel of
Oh, it's
land
not.
off
Dale,
of the
well,
end
it's
of
Dale,
Nancy Lane.
Dale, yeah, Dale Danahy owns it, who was the owner of
No,
Colella's.
Robert, there's a parcel of Robert Colella that's along
Yeah, that's not
Teresa.
this parcel.
Okay, thank you. I couldn't look at the map whilst driving, but yeah, okay, that's the one. Okay, great. I'll look at the map later.
Yeah, because
Then
there was one, and I remember one a few years ago that there was a forest cutting plan, but they needed to sort of access adjacent land through a buffer zone. So we said, no, you couldn't access it. Is this that same property? Or is this a different one? Because it was right behind, I thought it was right behind the solar.
No, that I think that was Churco.
Yes,
Janine.
Yeah,
yes.
Virgo.
Yep.
Through
Yeah,
the
that-
chair.
Yeah,
Thank
So
you.
this is Churco's, I believe this was a forest cutting plan to start with,
Yep.
correct? So
Yep.
the Churco property is just south.
Okay.
And this is actually owned by Churco as well, this piece kind of in the middle.
yeah, I think he's that, so he bought that from N-Star, right, Kim? That parcel right there that you just highlighted. And I think
Yes.
there's a forest cutting plan proposed for that parcel,
There is a forest cutting plan for this parcel. Yep.
but he doesn't have access to it, I think, is.
Yeah,
my
that's the one I
understanding.
remember, that we said, no, you can't go, like, you can't
Yeah.
go through the buffer zone to get there. You can't clear a buffer zone on your other property to get there to clear that property. So it was
Yeah.
sort of a done deal.
Yeah, I think you're right, Janine.
Yeah.
I remember
Hey,
that
Jeff.
too. Yeah,
Jeff, the town owns a piece of, owns the parcel to the, I guess, east of the solar complex. Right?
yep, yep.
Which I assume we wouldn't allow access. We're kind of landlocked out there, if I remember correctly. Yeah, that's good. That's a good photo.
Yeah, so so just a couple other points in the letter that Kim had sent. One was, this is kind of the headwater area to the Charles River. And then the other one was, what did we call, this was a point that Melissa brought up because she looked at the new biomap that that interestingly enough, the DCR has put together, and they characterized it as a what was it again, Kim? Like a
It's a mapped local landscape.
mapped
Which
local-
biomap defines as the most intact natural areas in each city and town.
Yeah. Yep. So I don't know if you guys were, I think Janine, you were on that on the MAC continuing ed class where they talked about the biomaps. Yeah, so that was, you know, another interesting kind of data point that Melissa picked up on that we submitted in the letter. So anyways, I thought it was a great letter. Kim, thank you for doing that. And hopefully, you know, they're not going to appeal it, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'm glad we had
okay.
a successful, I feel like I have a much, I have a good line of communication with our DCR forester now. Something good to come out of, you know, all this stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Were there any other public forum requests, Kim?
None.
Okay. Any updates from other committees?
Nothing from Upper Charles or CPC.
Okay, if I can get a
Well,
motion to,
everybody knows what Upper Charles is going through, right? The committee.
yeah, it's unfortunate, but you know, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Okay, a motion to adjourn the meeting for this
well,
evening.
Wait. Actually, Jeff, I will say something.
Yeah.
So the select board took up public comment on the Upper Charles Trail Committee and the petitions at town meeting that were passed, and the selectmen, I left believing that they were going to have some further discussion on Upper Charles Trail Committee's charge, and whether it should be reorganized or dissolved or whatever, but there will be opportunity for more conversation before the select board decides to take any action. That's it.
Okay, thanks for that update, Jim. All right, motion to adjourn the meeting for this evening.
Ted will make that motion.
Yeah.
And a
So,
sec, and a
I'll
second.
second.
Okay, and we'll do a roll call.
I'll
Jim?
second.
Jim? Ed?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Janine?
Aye.
Ted?
Ted is an aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
And Jeff is an aye.
Jim is an aye.
All
Jim
right.
is an aye.
Everyone.
Good
Thank
night,
you. Have a
everybody.
Good evening.
Good night, everyone.
See everybody, happy Memorial Day and all that stuff. And happy Mother's Day to all the mothers, by the way.
Yep, happy Mother's Day. Thank you, Joe.
Have a good night.
Good night.
night.
Thanks all.
Good night, everyone.